as you're coming on, friends, thank you so much for adding your contributions to our Mentimeter, our menti.com, and they keep coming, and you can keep doing that. We'll come back to this at the end of our time together and see how many other things have been added. People are feeling loved by God, eager, awed, isolated, connected, confused, open, joyful, exhausted, tired, overwhelmed, grand dog showing symptoms. Right? I see all these people getting new pets in this time, like a ton of people getting new pets. These pets are going to be so confused when people go back, like they leave their houses. They're going to be like, what, where'd they go? They're so used to people being around all the time. Overloaded, optimistic, exhilarated, thankful, anxious, all of these things. It's true that, I go through many, many emotions every day, it feels like, from one moment to the next. And so I'm finding that I have to have certain things that I know will help to calm me or energize me. And so spiritual practices have become really even more heightened and important in this time, because I find that as I gauge my emotions, or if all of a sudden I feel like, why can't I think? Partly it's the overload, but partly it's looking at a screen for too long, making myself get up, go outside, take a walk, all those things. It's just really, really important for us to pay attention to all that stuff. So, friends, I want to start with a little centering. And I'm going to use our centering, why not, from Heart of the Matter. And so let's just take a big, deep breath together. Yeah. So if you would just put your hand on your heart. And we're going to center our hearts as one to begin. So let's take a deep breath together. And then as we place our hand on our heart, I invite you to just begin to tap your heart lightly in a heartbeat rhythm. It doesn't have to exactly match your heartbeat, just that heartbeat rhythm. The heartbeat is one of the first things that we experience as humans, even before we're born. That's surrounded by that love in the womb of the mother, and her heartbeat and our heartbeat as one. You might want to just imagine yourself enveloped by the love of this heartbeat of God. We spend a little time now to connect and center on the heartbeat that we all have in common, the heartbeat of God that reminds us that we are alive, that we are never alone. Every moment, every breath, every step, as we journey this life and this time, we are together, enveloped, loved, encased by the Creator, who's always with us. So let's take another deep breath, making sure our shoulders and tension we feel in our bodies letting go with that breath. Shake it out a little bit and breathe in and out. Oh, breathing is the first prayer. It's our first proclamation to God. Out of the womb, we let our voices ring, right? It is our entrance into the world. And so that breath prayer, remembering that breath is the breath and the heartbeat are the rhythms that sustain us, that sustain our rhythms together. So, friends, let me just say something a little bit about the stressors that you may be feeling as a worship team that is trying to produce worship in ways that you never have before. it's been a few weeks that we've been at it now. And so you are getting both in the rhythm of being out of the rhythm and still feeling out of rhythm. That's a hard place to be. You didn't sign up to be producers. And even as the stay-at-home orders became more and more strict, as they should, even those you had people to film you, those people went away. So some of you are doing this by yourself, and you're trying to figure out how to set up your camera and how to click go and then getting back in place where it's stuff that you don't normally have to do. And so that in itself can be exhausting because we're thinking and we're not in a rhythm. And one of the things that I know as a worship leader is that when I'm doing something for the first time, like the first Sunday of a series, when I'm thinking really hard, it's more difficult to be centered myself spiritually and able to lead from that place of spiritual centeredness and to have that message deep in my body. So I want to really encourage you to take even more lead time before you push record or go live on Zoom or whatever it is that you're doing. Take some time to do whatever it is that you can center yourself. I had some music playing as people were coming on, and listening to music for me is the thing that can get my mind, the chatter in my mind, to just calm down for a second. And so that's a really important thing to figure out. What is it that can center me just for a moment, get my mind off of the 50 million things I'm trying to remember. Don't forget to hit record before I do my entire sermon, and then have to do it over again. But just quiet down for a moment and then get laser focused back, because it will help you with your concentration. This time of production and heightened production will increase your compassion and skills for the ways that you can reach out if you end up doing more of this after we get back in our sanctuaries, because you've discovered that the technology actually helps you reach out beyond your walls more, helps you reach out to people who can't make it into the sanctuary even on a normal time. And one of the side effects of this is that people who were resistant to technology and perhaps beginning to live stream or even record and send out things to the congregation who couldn't be there, they're experiencing the benefits and the blessings of it. And so you may actually have less resistance to it because they're not just reacting to it from their preconceived notions of it. They've actually had experiences. But also let me say that as this becomes, if it was a 1 or 2 or even 3 weeks, people might have kept their complaints to themselves. But as soon as we hit like, oh my gosh, our brains think this is the new normal, we go back to our personalities, and our personalities are even more heightened. And so those people who complain about worship will probably complain about what you're doing. It's just the way it is. It's human nature. And people may be super anxious in a way that they aren't normally. And so we just have to give grace to each other. And we also have to take with a grain of salt, not let that really, just completely throw us off center. And even say these things out loud, right? To say, I know this is not perfect and it's not going to be. And we're doing something we've never done before, and we're doing it because we love you and we want to connect with you. And so it's not going to be perfect. I so appreciate all your suggestions, but friends, we're doing the best we can, and we're going to make improvements along the way, but let's just be grateful for the things we can do. Just say it out loud, right? Just speak it into existence, because sometimes that takes the sting out of it a little bit, and people get a different, they go, oh yeah, ooh, what I did say was a little bit complainer. All right. So here's another thing that's stressing us out. And that is, many of you are watching yourself on video a lot. All of us are watching ourselves a lot. And you may not have done this before. Now, I was in professional dance before I went to seminary and began this ministry. And so I early on learned what it was like to watch myself on video, because that's what we would do. We would record ourselves so that we could perfect our movements and our, our ensemble movements, and make sure, we were doing things the same or whatever. So it was really hard. I remember feeling, oh my gosh, I am watching myself, and that's really hard. And so you're doing that, and that's really hard at first. One of the things that shifts then with that is you not only have an internal sense of what it felt like, but then you're also getting the external reality of what it looked like. And sometimes that's really hard as well, because internally it feels like one thing. And then when we watch it, it feels like, oh, that looks different than what it felt like. And it will completely, because when we're doing it, we have an internal sense, unless you're on Zoom and you're watching yourself talk. But mainly when I tell people, and I highly recommend that people watch themselves, and I tell people this in my consults all the time, watch yourself, because it will help you improve. But don't watch it right after you've done it, because you need a little bit of time between the time that you experience it internally and the time when you see it externally. Give yourself some time. Well, we don't have that time. For those of you who are pre-recording, you're doing it. You're watching the playbacks to make sure they're okay. And then you're watching it on Sunday with your church, perhaps, at the same time that others are watching it. And so you don't have that lag time. And so I want you to have much, much grace for yourself. You're going to notice expressions that you use, the way you use your hands, things that you didn't even know that you're doing. So huge, huge grace for yourself, all right? You are beautiful, and you are doing exactly what people need, and that is you are attempting to connect with them. Okay, so just know that that is really an existentially difficult kind of thing to do. And so that may also be why you're feeling so overwhelmed, because you're overwhelmed with the images of yourself. So the third thing I want to say about what's really hard in this time, and that is the dissonance of video conferencing. So even as you're watching me right now, your mind, because your mind doesn't know the difference, your brain doesn't know the difference, you're looking at my face. I could be standing right in front of you talking, and that's what your brain probably thinks I'm doing. But your body knows differently. Your body knows that you are sitting alone or in your house. There might be others, whatever it is, your body knows that you're not with me. And so there's this dissonance, this kind of cognitive physiological dissonance that we all have when we're doing video conferencing, where our mind thinks one thing, but our body is perpetually disappointed, because at the end of it, boom, we turn it off, and there we are, alone in our RV. I'm in my RV. So that is also something to give ourselves a lot of grace about. And it's also really important to have actual body practices within what you're doing. So that's why I built in some of these action things, to actually have people around a table, so that as you talk about the early church being at a table, people are in that setting. They're not in their office just thinking about a table. They're at their table. When you talk about eating, that people have something to eat, you raise a glass together, you make a soft heartbeat together. You all have worry stones, perhaps, that people can pick up, and you can do that prayer about the worry stone. It's physiological. It's something people are touching and feeling, and then dance party and all that stuff. It's really important to engage our bodies just a little bit, so we don't have that such a disconnect between our mind and our bodies. So I know this is kind of my neuroscience geeky stuff, and you wouldn't normally maybe even understand why ritual action is so important, even in the sanctuary, but especially in this. But these are some of the things that our bodies are experiencing, and that's why I have two webinars and 2 Zoom meetings today. I will be absolutely exhausted at the end of the day because of this dealing in this way. All right, friends, I just wanted to share that bit with you before we got to the series, because I want you to, I really want you to give yourself grace, and just thought that might be a little bit helpful. Okay, so if you could put in the chat box, friends, what are the things that you are doing that help you center yourself before you either record something or do live Zoom? But let's just share our practices in the chat. So go ahead and, are you listening to music? Are you taking a deep breath? Are you closing your eyes for a moment? Are you taking a walk? Whatever it is, let's share that with each other and get some stuff going in the chat box with that. Yes, thank you so much. Awesome. I have to scroll down. Yeah, closing eyes, praying, setting up a space, holding a sense of humor. Yes, walking, meditate, lighting a candle, getting quiet, deep breathing 6 times. Nice, lighting a candle. Perfect, long pause, listening to music. This is so good, y'all. So, so good. Keep taking care of yourself like that. All right, friends, so here's what we're going to do with these Q&A. I have received some emails, so I've got those ready. Some questions in the Facebook page, so that's great. So I'm going to do it in sections. We're going to attempt this. We're going to try to organize this because this is really just kind of free-form Q&A brainstorming. So I'm going to start with general things about the series and the series format and formats of online work, doing this online, different questions about that. Then we'll move to kind of the word parts, the liturgy, the leader parts, the all that kind of stuff. And then we'll talk about music, about choosing hymns, about replacing dance music with stuff that would resonate with your congregation, about how you do that, links, blah, 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 blah. Okay, music stuff. We'll touch a little bit on intergenerational participation, some questions I've had about children. And then we'll round it off with other questions that came up after those categories or just other questions and categories. So that's what we're going to try to do. All right. Okay, so first question, how would you recommend adapting the series to start on Easter 1 rather than Easter itself? What week should we skip? So yeah, I mean, if you saw my my sunrise little video on that Get Ready webinar, gosh, the Jeremiah scripture is so great, so hope-filled. It's so on point. And that was for the readings for Easter. And the whole idea that after Jesus' death, the community was devastated, their hopes were dashed, their reality was changed. And oh my gosh, does that speak, right? So I think probably what I would do, I didn't do a full Easter thing. I just put some things in there because I knew you would be doing tried and true Easter things. So I just put some things in there that some of you may have used and others of you didn't. So obviously this question is coming from someone who didn't, but would like to insert that. And I think I would try to insert that as kind of an introduction and make it work with, so you can stay on track with the actual weeks. I haven't looked at the weeks enough to see if there's one that I would throw out. It would really have to do, I would say, with look at all the weeks, see which one, if you wanted to just shift them all, see which one would be less resonant with your congregation, or that you're feeling less inspired about preaching or messaging about that. But yeah, I think there's a way in which you could, as an introduction to the entire series, talk about, just last week we had the scripture of the women going to the tomb and hearing Jesus say, leave Jerusalem, go to Galilee, go home. I will meet you at home, which I thought was just extraordinary. Oh my God, like when I realized he was saying, go home, I'll be with you there. Amazing. Let's see, hold on, my recording was just telling me something. Okay, so that's what I would do there. Then we had a question, how long do you estimate the service to last as written? So I don't know, and it depends on if you keep all the sections, if you do the discussion questions, if you give people time to discuss, if you break out into small groups, or if you do a regular length sermon. You really have, I would say practice it, do it, time it out, see how long, if you're really worried about length. I think people are less worried about length, actually. If you're pre-recording it, know that if people are worried about length and they're not into some section, they are scrubbing forward. I kind of doubt that that's happening because people are really appreciative of what's going on. I would say that this is going to be shorter than most series, mainly because your transitions are shorter. You don't have people getting up and walking here and there and doing different things. The threshold moment is shorter. You know, I've got just that little ditty, amazing grace, that you can do. So I don't think it's length is going to be a problem in this one. I don't have a sense of how long, like if I did it just as written and maybe inserted a 5-minute meditation or a 10-minute sermon. I want to suggest to you, preachers, I talked about this in the Get Ready webinar, use this moment to shift. Don't expect to do a 20-minute sermon, 15-minute sermon in this. People just want to hear you speak to them and speak the good news. And so talk right into the camera. You know, you might choke up. I choked up on Easter sunrise because I just felt the weight of the moment in that moment, and I felt gratitude. Tears come for many reasons, and actually it's okay. It's okay to be vulnerable because people are vulnerable in this moment. But talk right into the camera. It may be, I gave you an example. If I was doing this series with a congregation, I would do little meditations on the scriptures from my kitchen. I would be cooking because I've always wanted to do a cooking show. I wouldn't be cooking while I was talking because I can't do that. Cooking is not so native to me, but I might be stirring, but I would use metaphors. Like I was making blackberry jam, and the whole idea of like metaphoraging, right, is where you take what you're doing and you go, what is this a bigger symbol of? Like, what is our boiling point? Are we at our boiling point here? What can we do to simmer down? Oh, that would work. I love that. Okay. Anyway, so take this time to just take the expectations off of that preaching moment, that it has to be a certain length, that has to be a certain kind of thing, and talk directly to folks. You know, do some exegesis with the scripture, but really take some time to just get real. That's what people want. All right. How do we hybridize, adapt an order of worship to be both online and in person in this liminal space? What would it look like to have a worship service where some or all is available on recorded, but the joys, concerns, prayers of the people are live at a set time? I think that would be, you know, if you can pull that off, that would be a fun thing. I know that some churches, and I think this is a really good format, would be to do a pre-recorded or have people do it. You know, a lot of people are, one of the reasons why I created an at-home version, right, that has the rubrics stripped out that have to do with, you know, recording and stuff, is for those churches who are not able to do online or recording. It's just too much. So people could actually have that in front of them. You can take the links out of that or say, you know, just don't worry about the links. If you really have a congregation who, you know, here's the other thing, freeconferencepro.com. I think that's it. Jenna, if you would look that up for me, freeconferencepro.com. It's a good old-fashioned phone thing. You could actually do this entire thing. And as I wrote it, I thought, what would this be like to do it over the phone? Just do it over the phone. And then you're able to incorporate prayers and concerns. At that time, you may have people send you prayer concerns ahead of time, or you can unmute them on freeconferencepro.com, right? And they can talk. So a church that I know, a lot of churches actually are doing a pre-recorded, and then they do a virtual coffee hour on Facebook Live. Now, depending on how private you want this prayer time to be, it could be that you have people watch the service and then you get on a post. So you say it, even though it's pre-recorded, hit your go buttons at 10 o'clock in the morning or 9:30 or whenever you have worship, or whenever you want to have worship, right? Hit it then, and then at the end of it, so 45 minutes, hour, however long your thing is, then people know, go to this Zoom link and we're going to have prayer time together and we're going to be on live. So you only have a short thing that's not too production heavy on Zoom or on Facebook Live, where people can be chatting their prayers, or you can unmute them, whatever your situation is. So I love that combination of things. If you, I mean, you could even dare to have a pre-recorded that at a certain point at prayer time says, pause the video, go to the link in the description, in the YouTube description, which is your Zoom link or whatever, and do your prayer time and then go back if you really want to, you know, get complicated about it. So those are some of my ideas. I am guessing that there's some other people sharing ideas in the chat about that as well. And we're going to save that chat so that you can see what the ideas are. Okay. Again, about online, Lori says that she's been asking church members about using Zoom, and they're getting, you know, they're nervous about that. They haven't used Zoom before. You know, I do want to say that a lot of churches that have had resistance, more and more people are getting on Zoom. I had a lovely email from someone last night even that said, thank you so much for, you know, giving me permission. I didn't need to give you permission, but I guess my saying it is kind of permission giving. And that is, you know, do something really simple. If you're on Zoom, do it simple and don't try to do big production values. Just be there, be real, sing Amazing Grace together. That's why I used a tune that everybody could sing together in that little threshold moment. And he's saying that week after week, they're getting more and more people who are actually using Zoom. And they're having grandparents whose grandchildren are helping them get set up on Zoom, even from a distance. And more people are joining, and that they record it and then they put that out there. So there's many ways. So, but I get the resistance. They like receiving a YouTube video link. That's great, via weekly email. They can watch at their convenience. So she's afraid that the self-guided YouTube links, that kind of thing, will make for a disjointed, technologically challenging experience. That could be true. If and anything that's new, right, first off, is going to be challenging. So here's what I would suggest, is that if you want a pre-recorded, one-click kind of experience, that you're not going to use those links that I suggested. You're going to use a hymn or something that would be more appropriate, a public domain hymn. We're going to talk more about this in music, but something that would resonate with your congregation. You know, I put these things out here and I expect you to adapt it, right? That's my expectation. For some of you, your congregation will be like, oh yes, we can jam out to some secular tune, and it totally reframes it into a sacred kind of, you know, feel, and that's going to be great for them. But for some others of you, you're going to want to just use you know, something that's more familiar, that's more soothing, that's more whatever, you know, to your folks. So you've got to adapt. So if you're going to do a YouTube thing, use public domain hymns. Jenna, would you put in the chat, I got in touch with some people who do videos that have lyrics on them, that have beautiful backgrounds, that have singing with it, of public domain hymns. Now here's the other thing, and they say live stream please. So the other thing you can do is you can find public domain hymns and then find recordings of those, and contact the people who made the recordings, or make your own recordings on the, you know, have your pianist make recordings of these 7 hymns that you're going to use during the season, and then insert those in your YouTube. Let's get to music here in a little bit, so that we can keep it all together. All right, Jenna, any other general questions about the format of the series, general series-wide kinds of things?
Yeah, so we did have an interesting question. How do we make transitions more gentle? The cut from one shot to another feels odd sometimes for streaming.
Yeah, right. So it depends on what kind of editing software you are using. Actually, I'm not sure if that question was about pre-recorded or about live. Let me say something about transitions in both of those situations. Pre-recorded, I use an editing software that I highly recommend. It's for Mac, but there is a PC equivalent, and it's called ScreenFlow by Telestream. And in ScreenFlow, you insert, just much like iMovie. iMovie does this as well. You can choose transitions, right? So in iMovie, there's lots of different transition possibilities. It's actually more sophisticated than ScreenFlow. But in ScreenFlow, what I do is you just take the two clips and then you barely overlap them. And so what it does is it does this fade from one thing into the next. So every software is different, but every editing software will have transitions. And so, yeah, so ScreenFlow, all one word, by Telestream. You can just Google it, ScreenFlow, all one word. And Telestream is the company who makes it. They make a lot of different products, but it was really easy for me to learn. So there's not a lot of bells and whistles, but it's really easy to learn. And it's $129, I believe. So it's not super expensive like other video editing software. So transitions in pre-recorded, and that's a really good idea to create those nice transitions, because it is jarring sometimes. If you're doing live transitions, you can do that in different ways, and that is to know that this reading's going to happen at this moment, and then you want something else to happen. You're going to go maybe somewhere else. You can, if you're using Zoom, you can share your screen and have a pretty picture come up, or have some music happening as you're walking to the, just think about, what am I doing live? So, okay, so transitions from one section to the next. Let me pull up a script and see what I might say about that. I really imagined you just doing this from your table and just going from one to the next. So we have, let's begin to break bread while we break open the word in our scriptures. And then you would just go. And then you may just click to a different Zoom reader. And yes, it's going to be a cut. But if you're going to use different readers who are in different places, it's just going to be that kind of cut to that next person. And it's okay. You don't production value does not have to be slick. Just has to be real. We just have to be real. Okay. Jenna, do you think that got to the heart of the question?
I think so. Yeah, that's very helpful. Okay. I do have a couple other questions for general video adaptations as this is coming up. So any suggestions on buying a camera? We will continue to be live once we are back in church, I assume, and we will need a camera to continue to stream.
Yeah. So I am not the expert on the hardware, but there are many, many experts out there who are giving lots of expert advice. My best advice, if you want tech knowledge and a database, a Facebook group where they're just putting tons of resource articles up, and that is the Practical Resources Center that I co-hosted a webinar with a couple weeks ago. They have something called Online Church. And Jenna, maybe you can find that in Facebook and put that link in the chat. Online Church with PRC, I think it's called. And they are just putting tons of resources in there. Those of you who have cameras, you might want to put that in the chat, but I'm not going to, I'm an expert at many things, but I have learned to put boundaries around what I am giving expert advice on. And this is one of them. So the other thing I wanted to say about Zoom is that one of the things I love about Zoom that is different than our old platform that we're moving away from is the ability to use my Keynote or PowerPoint, my presentation software, and be able to insert videos, insert audio, insert transitions, all of that into my actual PowerPoint, or actually I use Keynote. And then then I can just share my screen and I can actually play that, and it works really well. So just wanted to put that in there as well, is that actually works really well. And it's actually better. We're getting into music here. Just remind me, it's actually better to pre-record your music even if you're doing a live Zoom, and have that played via a link, via your Keynote or your PowerPoint, so that people can sing along. Unfortunately, not together where they can hear each other, because it's just like Pentecost. And so if you want a Pentecost experience every week, fine. But you have to sing something really slow to actually get to sing together. So have people be muted and sing their hearts out with gusto, with the accompaniment playing in a pre-recorded thing from your PowerPoint or your Keynote or whatever software you're using. Okay. Yes, go ahead, Jenna.
We had one more question, and we're getting lots of good answers to this in the chat box already, which is great. Someone asked, can you share a video by screen sharing on Zoom? And we're getting lots of good suggestions for how to deal with that.
Yeah, so I've been doing it in my webinars and in my in several things. So I just put my video right into my Keynote, like I would if I was presenting on a screen, and I share my my Keynote and I play the video, just like I would be doing in Keynote already, and it's worked really well for me. So yeah. All right. Anybody? Any other questions in general before we move to kind of the liturgy itself?
I think it's time to move forward.
Okay, awesome. Oh, friends, it's so great to be with you. It's just, you know, again, I just want to keep reiterating. If some of you are on here and some of these questions are like blowing your mind and you're thinking, oh, I'm not doing enough, stop. You are doing enough. Whatever you're doing, whatever level of production, whatever just because somebody else is doing it does not mean that you have to learn it. You really don't. Do what you can. And we all have limitations in terms of our bandwidth, because you need to be doing pastoral care as well. So just don't spend your entire days and nights doing this stuff. All right, so just do what you can do. All right, let me share my screen. Speaking of sharing screen, and let's just look at a couple of slides. So in your materials, you can get, you know, if you're trying to figure out, if you're adjusting things at a glance, those scripture and synopses, the overview that really gives you, that's where I try to explain what was going through my mind as I designed the sections, so that you can understand more the philosophy or the theology about how I put it together. And then of course there's all of the scripts, which come in PDF and Word, so that you can mess with the Word versions and always have a copy of what the original was in the PDF in case you need to go back to it. I highly recommend that you try out, you'll work on this next Sunday, try it out, see what works, see what doesn't. You might end up dropping, adapting some things after this first time, and then look at all the rest of the Sundays and go through those scripts and just take, you know, adapt how you're doing it, just do it all at once, so that then you can stop making decisions every week, right? So do this first one, see what works, you know, try it on for size, go back, look at all the rest of the scripts, adapt those all in one fell swoop while your brain is in it, right? Go through, okay, we decided we're not going to do the meal blessing. We're not going to do the meal thing. So just go through all the Word copies and strip it out of all the Word copies, right? All at once. And then you think, okay, we added the way we do prayers of the people a little differently. And so put that in your week 3, and then copy and paste to all the rest of the Word documents, right? So adapt them all. And this is going to save you time week to week. You will feel so much relief that you know what's going to happen the rest of the time. All right. And if you're looking for music, don't think you have to find all the music as you do that. I'm just talking about the wording and the structure, the main structure. And what I do is I get that all together. Even when I'm designing these things for you, I get all that together. And then I have like a hymn slot that I don't choose the hymns as I work on each one, because that gets me bogged down into the weeds, into the details. And then I run out of time to actually adjust all my scripts. So I just put him and I make it big red or green or whatever color, which means I need to go back and fill that in. And then I can spend week to week, your music person can spend week to week finding that public domain hymn that you need to find for that week that really resonates with your congregation, or that thing you're going to use for the dance party that's different than the one I suggested. So this is really important in time-saving and energy, brain-saving design. And it's really something I've learned to practice over time, and it really yields results in terms of relief and time-saving energy. And that is, attend to the order first. Get the order for all the weeks the way you want it. Then go back, and the details you can do as you go along, right? This will help save you. All right, so then think about, look at that intergenerational engagement and see what you might, at the end of every service, in a new idea you might invite people to do, right? Maybe it's chalk hearts on sidewalks the first week. Maybe it's groceries with a bag that your kids get to use the markers on and put hearts all over it before you take it to the food bank, or whatever it is, but decide something for every week, right? Okay, so this whole series is based on the scripture from Acts, and it's an intimate kind of thing. So think about, at the beginning of your series, saying out loud to people, this is not going to feel like the worship that we've even had in the last few weeks online, because we're shifting to a new message and a new series, and so we're not going to have our big procession with the cross and we're not going to make our organist go in and play the organ. They're going to play their piano from home. This whole scripture is about how the early Christians domesticated their worship, sometimes because they had to, because it was illegal. They couldn't do it out in public in a big way, right? And so they met in homes. We have to meet in homes. We're doing what we need to do for the good of the whole, for survival. And so, my friends, let's take our cue from those early Christians. Let's meet around the table. Let's raise a glass. Let's bless the food. Let's bless this time of getting to be together in the ways that we can. So talk out loud about that shift. And also really, really think for yourself, rather than thinking, oh, people will be so disappointed if they don't see the sanctuary. Yeah. And they'll get over it. What they won't get over is if you kill yourself trying to just keep up this pace and deal with ongoing stress and deal with the pastoral care that you inevitably are having to deal with for many reasons. So I really want you to hear me on this. This is, people will have expectations. Now, let's talk about what I just talked about going into the sanctuary. You can do what's called B-roll. All right, take your phones, take your camera, whatever it is, go into your sanctuary once. Set up your table in a way that maybe has a lot of hearts on it, or it just has red fabric on it, or it has whatever. Maybe you get some of the kids in your congregation to draw some hearts, or it has some stones with hearts painted on it, maybe big ones there, right? Not too complicated, but set something up. And then take a video, some B-roll of walking into the sanctuary, of looking at the stained glass windows, of the beloved symbols, of the candle being lit. Any of these things, do it once, and then use it in your, especially if you're pre-recording, or use it in your Zoom by inserting the video that you've prepared into your PowerPoint, your Keynote, your whatever you're using, and show that. They can get a sense of the sanctuary without you having to have multiple people go in one at a time, spend that energy, go out into the world, do it once, all right? So I really hope that you will take this to heart. We need to be conserving our energy and offering what we can. All right, so go to the Facebook group, all right? Jenna, if you haven't put the link to the Facebook group, the Heart of the Matter Facebook group, people are sharing. This is Catherine McDonald, obviously is not only in ministry, but she is a photographer, and she is sharing and giving permission for us to use these wonderful images of hearts everywhere, but we can all begin to do this, right? Anytime you see a picture or a heart in nature, or you draw something, you know, I drew something last week in Holy Week, you know, reminding myself to let go and let God. And because I had hearts on the brain, I made a heart. You know, I took a picture of it. I uploaded it in Facebook. Let's share. Facebook is the place where we can help each other. We can resource each other. In other worship design studio series, many of you have done them before, and you know that one person who has the skills for like making a graphic that has the week's title on it will create those for the entire series, and they'll post those there and share that. Another person who has the gift of just loving going through the hymnal and looking at all the heart songs that are public domain, somebody might do that and have the time for that and post that in Facebook. I want to suggest this anyway, and that is that we all help each other on this, and we all resource each other in that Facebook group, because there's no reason that we all have to do it alone. That's the thing about Worship Design Studios. We're creating a community where I resource you, but then we also resource each other. No one size fits all. That is the mantra of the Worship Design Studio. And so I cannot create exactly what you need. I can instigate your own creativity. I can give you the shell. I can also give you a ton of substance, and then you have to adapt it. But we can also resource each other. So go in there. All right, spending time. That's the first part of the liturgy. It's that what I call threshold moment for those of you who are just beginning to learn some of my terminology. And you can also read Think Like a Filmmaker if you have some time on your hands. We're all at home, but not many of us have time on our hands. But if you want to read something and get more into worship design, Think Like a Filmmaker. The threshold moment is that centering and calming, even though it's an Easter season and we would expect big energy. We also have to match the energy of where we're at. And so that domesticating, right? Using that word, we're domesticating that moment of gathering around the table, of centering our hearts, of calming down, right? So the heart stones. Have you been making your heart stones? I made mine on Easter. Found a flat stone. It's hard to see it. Let me get it close. There you go. My heart stone. I just used Sharpies. That's what I had. You know, I just tried to come up with something people could do on their own. And worry stones actually have a long tradition, and actually are used in across many cultures and traditions. So it's a great way for people to keep this in their pocket, to have something, like I said, physiological and tangible. So putting that, and it's a great metaphor for rolling away the stone, right? The love that rolled away the stone from Easter, keeping that Easter season alive, and putting that near a candle, having people have a candle and putting it near the candle connects those worries that we have with the hope-filled light of Christ, right? So putting that in proximity. It also creates a little altar space, right? A little worship space for people on their tables without having to, you know, get things that are too complicated. All right, so, you know, I say a lot of this in, oh, there's Kelly Turney. She posted this in the Facebook group, some of her heart stones. Wonderful. You know, just take pictures. Let's share it together. You know, this would make a wonderful thing to put in your PowerPoint, in your Keynote, in your images, in your pre-recorded. Take a lot of pictures. Actually have your people take pictures of their candles and their stones, and then start using those in your pre-recorded. That's a great way to do transitions from one thing to the next, is just to have a moment of seeing a few pictures and space those out, right? You're going to have tons of material. You're not going to be without material, right? So breaking bread. I had some questions about people saying, well, this, you know, our worship is not really during a mealtime. Okay. So invite people to have snacks, invite people to have a cup of coffee, change your worship time to mealtime. That's radical. Or if you're pre-recording it, tell people to play it whenever they're at their table. Lots of different ways to get around that. Okay, so just because breaking bread is part of it, don't let that be a deterrent. I think it's actually the metaphors of breaking open our lives, breaking open our hearts, breaking bread together. It's important enough, I would say, to the series to figure out some language that would work for your context and the time in which you do it. Okay, and then the praise God section. I'm going to talk about this next as we talk about music. So, okay, I've already alluded to this, but I didn't put a bunch of hymns in here because I wanted to create something that people could do on their own. So you can add hymns, add an opening hymn after you do the little centering thing, after you sing the little Amazing Grace thing, or have it at the very beginning. You can add your own stuff. Choosing public domain hymns is your friend, because then you don't have to worry at all about licensing, streaming licenses, any of that kind of thing. Using replacing the dance music that I have said, you can do covers. Jenna, if you could put in the chat the link to the cover thing that YouTube had. It's kind of a, it's a kind of a wait and see kind of thing. What I suggest, if you're pre-recording and you use a cover that you think, like I did a little experiment. On Easter sunrise service, I played and did my little dance party to a cover of Ziggy Marley's Love Is My Religion, not Ziggy Marley, his official video. So there's a guy that had a really great rendition on YouTube. I just typed in Love Is My Religion cover. He has a great rendition of it. And so and the fact that he has 14 million views on it, and it's been up a long time, means that he obviously is not getting dinged or fined, or Ziggy Marley has not contacted him and said, take it down. So it's highly likely that you could use that and not get dinged. So that was my little experiment, and I have not been dinged for using that in my YouTube video. I didn't use the entire song, I used excerpts. So sometimes that is helpful around copyright things, but I used a cover. And so doing that little research, and I tried to pick songs that had a wide range of style for that dance party. So they're not all, pumpin' rocky songs. They're also like, one of them is a great throwback, and it's like a couples dancing song kind of thing. And one is where you want to get out your lighter and, like you're on a concert, kind of thing. So there's lots of different ways to give permission to people to do it in different ways. And in the language, leader language, I say, head bobbing, toe tapping, however it is that you want to dance, give people lots of permission to do whatever they want. But also, if you've got a family, is like rocking out, have them rock out to the song and video it. There was a video I put on the Facebook page of somebody who did a family dancing outside, and the little red wagon, right? And the music was playing. So have somebody do that and then play that, so people who might not dance can viscerally have that delightful dance experience by watching somebody else do it as well. So tons of ways to do this. Get creative. Your congregation. How fun would it be to make a compilation, if you have somebody who's doing your editing and having fun doing it, to have a compilation of people who send in, themselves like jamming out to a certain tune that you're going to use that week. All right, that's a little more complicated than you might have the bandwidth to do. But if you have like a youth who is wanting to do this as a project, or an adult, whoever, it's great to find people when you find people with those skills and they have so much fun doing it. Or just put pictures of people dancing, right? Doesn't have to be video. All right, lots of different ways to do it. The point is to get, and I put it late in the service so that you have time for centering and settling. You have time for praying and getting real about, our feelings of sorrow and anxiety. You have time for scripture and a deep dive into discussing. And then you have time to get the endorphins going, right? All right, so then the have goodwill, that is what I already talked about. Figure out something maybe from that intergenerational document that you can suggest people do. I want you to go, oh my gosh, hearts are all over the place. So this woman was sent my Heart of the Matter table ritual, and she sent me an email. She's an artist. She's actually an author, an amazing person. who does amazing things, but she emailed me and said, here's a link to some of my work. Feel free to share it and have people use it if you want. So we have permission to use this amazing illustrator's work. This is just one example. You sounded like you could use some love. This is for you. One of the reasons why I really, besides the fact that the word heart comes up in the scriptures a ton in year A RCL, is that hearts are super easy for people to replicate, to do so many different things. And so look at this. Somebody posted this. Actually, Linda Driver, I put her name up here. Yay. Linda Driver sent this in, made hearts, hung them from the trees outside the church. You know, there are people all over doing heart things in windows. There's a group called Heart Hunters on Facebook. You can get tons of pictures off of that. This picture of this mailbox. Thank you, postal workers. Thank you for everything. These hearts, I mean, super easy to replicate. And every time people use a heart or see a heart, they will think of the worship. And that's what you really want to do with worship, is have an anchor image that helps connect everyday life, that keeps coming up, that in our brains pull up the files of worship that helps us to live our lives by that story, by that narrative. Okay, so Easter season. In the materials I talk about, highlighting the fact that Easter is a whole season and not just a day. And this is a perfect opportunity for us to teach that to our congregation, to our kids, that Easter is not just a day. And so there are many ways that you can keep using Easter egg symbol throughout. Now, one way that I did was to talk about writing something down every week and putting in eggs so that when we come back together, we can do an egg hunt that we all missed and get eggs that have a message in there and some candy, right? So we keep doing that all through the season. Now, what I did for myself is that on Easter Day, I made these strips of paper and I put affirmations on them. And I already can't remember exactly what I put on them, which is the point, because I rolled them up, I put them in the eggs with a couple pieces of candy, and every week, as I pray for you all doing Heart of the Matter, I am going to open an egg, read the affirmation, have a little bit of candy, a little bit of chocolate, Cadbury, okay? And that will be my ritual. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but I love that we get the opportunity to really bring home the message that Easter is a whole season and keep that Easter feel going, because we missed some of our Easter rituals. So Dina put this one up. They started doing this stained glass window kind of thing. And so just beautiful, lots of different ways. And you all will help each other to come up with more and more ideas. You're going to have more ideas than you can use, and that's great. That's what we want to do. Okay, friends, I am stopping sharing my screen. And Jenna, what has come up?
We just got a question. Can you please post the contact or site for the cartoonist artwork? I think that's Kathy Buckstaff. Is that her name?
Yes, that's right. So actually, I put that in the Facebook group. So somebody who's at your computer right now, go to the Facebook group, find that post, and I think I have a link to her Facebook page. So grab a couple links for us. Jenna's busy right now with some questions. So somebody of the 80 some people that are on, if you can go grab that would be awesome. Put it in the chat.
Great.
What else, Jenna?
I'm just going through my questions here. Let's see.
Yep.
So I think we've got to most of the questions that have come up so far, talking about the copyright. How do we share permissions? How do we deal with wanting to sing together with the technological issues? So I think for music and stuff like that, we've pretty much covered a lot of ground.
Great. Let me see. Okay, so there was a question about children. People are used to getting scripts for children's time with my series, and that my guest associate Mark Burrows does. I created this really quickly and I gave it away for free. And so I did not ask Mark Burrows to make children's messages for all those reasons. So what I did instead is I tried to make the entire thing kid friendly, which is one of the reasons why Shelley actually made those heart coloring pages, because there are many portions of the service that will keep kids' attention, because there are ritual actions, there are things, there's heartstones, there's dance parties, there's a lot to do. Probably during the scripture readings and the sermon, if you decide to do a sermon time or discussion time, would be the most difficult for smaller children to stay connected. So, invite them every time they hear the word heart, have them listening, hear the word heart, to start coloring in another heart, right? So I tried to incorporate ways for kids to be engaged in the whole of the service rather than doing a special children's time. Now, you can share on Facebook what you're doing on the group. You may find some kids' books that you want to insert. If they're short, brief, insert those times. You may find other things that you want to do. Share that with each other. Doesn't mean just because I haven't put that in there that you can't. I just wanted to keep it to a time length that was shorter, that would be engaging for all ages. And so we tried to think through that rather than doing children's time. All right. Another general question for pastors who are transitioning to another church. Do you have any ideas about how to navigate this season? Oh my gosh, people. Yeah, the layers and layers of heartache, really. So many different scenarios, and especially for pastors who are transitioning to new places and out of old places, or transitioning into retirement. Wow. So here's what I would say to you about that, and that is incorporate maybe into your message, or create another little piece in the service that is notes from my heart to yours, or what's the heart of the matter, things I've learned, lessons I've learned and taken to heart from you. This could be a really sweet time of sharing from the heart, right? Thanking people for what they've done. Maybe you think of an example every week of the way that the congregation has supported your heart, has inspired you. So I just think it's kind of perfectly situated to have that sweet time. It's, you're not able to have some of the things that the rituals that you usually have upon leave taking. This is true for people who are even having loved ones die, whether it's COVID related or not. The rituals of bringing food to somebody's house, of sitting with loved ones as they pass over, even sending cards, sympathy cards, all of this is disrupted. And when our rhythms are disrupted, our rituals are disrupted, it's a really difficult thing. And so it's important for us to continue to innovate and continue to think of other ways that we can do it. It won't feel the same, it won't be the same, but it's also an opportunity to reflect a little more deeply and a little more personally, perhaps, than some of those other ritualized things. Bake yourself a cake, a going away cake, and show, have that and say, I know if you were with me, you would have baked me this cake. And in fact, you would bake my favorite cake. So I baked myself my favorite cake. Humor goes a long way. So I'm in prayer for all of you who are going through transitions as well during this time of whatever kind. So that's the first thing off the top of my head, just brainstorming.
We've got a couple other questions, Marcia,
okay.
that have come up in that time.
Right.
Leah asks, how do we know which photos on Facebook we can use in our services? Do we have to pay attention to copyright for photos too?
Okay, so Catherine, who shared photos, was explicit about that when she shared those. She said she'd like to have credit. Okay, so that's great. people who post photos who don't say anything like that, who don't specifically have a copyright on the picture itself, like written on it, it's really nice if you share those and you put the name with it. You know, it's always going to be connected to whoever shared it, right? If they took it. And I think we can pretty much assume that somebody who shares something in a public forum and doesn't claim any copyright to it is giving permission for it to be shared. I think if social media wouldn't work if we didn't have permission to share it forward. So wherever you can, you know, just put the name of the person with the picture, or put it in credits or whatever. I'm going to say in the Facebook group, and we can actually put this in an announcement, that anybody who shares a picture here that does not claim copyright or a need for credit is saying that this is shareable. Let's just do that for ourselves so that we know that. And then let's resource each other. Because the truth is that we have some of the best cameras these days that make beautiful pictures. And so just err on the side of taking your own. That's what I would say. What else, Jenna?
Lori Morton, hi Lori, glad you're with us today, asks what apps are available for choirs to record from home for special music?
Oh man, so I don't know exactly how all these choirs are doing that, but that would be something to research in the online church by PRC, with PRC or whatever that the name of that is. Jenna, can you do you know exactly what the title is of that Facebook group?
Yep, so it is called Online Church from PRC, and I will share the link to that group in the chat as well.
So that would be an excellent question for that group. If you don't see it in there, just put that question in there and see if somebody pops up, if there is some special software. When I did for the Calm and Bright series, when I put all those choirs together for that culmination video, I sent them a soundtrack so that everybody could record with the same soundtrack, so that's all in the same key, it's all in the same rhythm, right? I'm imagining that's what they're doing, and then they're putting it together. I don't know if there's some software that helps you do that on the back end, right? So once you have all the clips, that easily puts that together. I don't know. It's not super easy if you're just like trying to line up. It's not super hard either. So it could be a matter of just sending a soundtrack to everybody, having them sing it, record it with the soundtrack, their part, and then putting that together. So I don't know the answer to that question, but go to the experts where there's a lot of technical stuff happening in that group. Any others?
I think that's it for now.
So Sonia said one type of software is a cappella to do simultaneous soundtracks. Yeah. So anyway, do your research, and if somebody finds out the answer, post it in the Facebook group. I'm very excited. We have a lot of people in the Facebook group, and so resourcing each other is the way to go. It's going to be really a wonderful time for us to keep doing that for each other. Friends, I've gone a little bit over an hour, but I think we packed a lot in here. I want to do one last thing. I want to share with you something that's about to happen. So keep your eye out for it. And that is, yay, I'm going to do a live stream experience, a little retreat, a 2-day live stream retreat. 2 days does not mean it's going to be 8 hours a day every day. It will be broken up, but it will be a way for you to have a retreat for your soul. So my elevation retreat that I do every May for a week from Monday to Friday, every year at Lake Tahoe has been canceled, of course. This is really a difficult thing in many ways that it's been canceled. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer May 11th and 12th, which is the beginning of the week that I would have been in Tahoe with 60 people from all over the country. I'm going to offer a live stream retreat experience. So it is, I'm beginning to put it together, but it's going to be some learning. but it's not going to be all education, but it is going to be continuing education. So I will give some continuing education credits if you need that. So it will be some learning, but it's also going to be encouragement. It's going to be depth. It's going to be spiritual depth in rejuvenating your spirit. I'm going to take seriously that by May 11th and 12th, you know, after a few more weeks of this, we'll be even more tired than we are now, unless we get a better rhythm and pace ourselves. Time to connect, help with whatever it is that you're dealing with. But also I'm going to have some surprise guest appearances by some wonderful artists who will grace us with some experiences of music and art and suggestions about not only what we can do in worship in this time, but how we can increase our artfulness in worship once we get back into our sanctuaries. But again, also how art itself can help us to rejuvenate our spirits in this time. I'm also going to have a guest on, a colleague who will be talking about ritual, and we'll be talking about ritual in a time of trauma. The time of trauma will not end once we are back in our sanctuaries or even back to normal in our lives, because many of us will have businesses that are either folded or just barely hanging on, or in a lot of debt, or we've lost our jobs to companies who are folding or in a lot of debt. I mean, it's the trauma will continue, right? Economically, it's really going to be tough. But also we will have lost people, and you may be doing a lot of pastoral care once you can be back with people, once you can have memorial services, once you can deal with all the things that you're having to do in a distance. There'll be a lot of things. So we'll be talking about ritual and trauma. And I am going to be writing some things about ritual and trauma between now and then that I will be sharing with those participants. And so I am going to make it as artful and beautiful an experience as we can have over live stream to feed our spirits, our minds, our bodies, and our spirits. And I hope that you will join me. Look for details about that soon. We have to set up registration for it. But I am so looking forward to curating that time and being with you in that time. So friends, I pray many, many blessings on your endeavors, on your adaptations of this heart of the matter. I pray that you will have time to get to the heart of the matter, to share that with others and have others share that with you, and that it will feed your spirit, that it will help you to do the ministry that you are doing. There's a fly. There are disruptions, right? I pray many blessings. So as you go off, let's do one more of these little minty things. Let's go back to our Mentimeter and see how we're doing. And then I've got one more thing. If you can hang on, it's really fun. We'll do a blessing for each other. So share my screen again. And this time I will share this. And here we are with our how are you doing, friends? Tired, overwhelmed, and hopeful. Got the most. Awesome. Okay, so let's do another one. By the way, Mentimeter.com is super easy and fun to do. I think this is the one I want to do. Yeah, words of blessing. So go to menti.com again, use the code 30199, and what will pop up is some places again for you to put words or phrases. And this time I would like for us to send a blessing to everybody who's been on this call and those who will be watching the recording. What words of blessing would you extend to each other? And this will pop up in real time as you begin to put those in. So start putting those in. Faith, hope, and love. Peace, grace, courage. Breathe deeply. Oh, thankful. Be gentle with yourselves. Shalom, joy. Be refreshed. Be restored. Delight, space, enough. Oh, these are so good. Yes. courage, wonder, gentleness, joy. Oh, peace, grace, and hope are the most popular. Love, creativity, yes. Oh, may your creativity just blossom. You are enough. Yes. Beautiful, my friends. Heart light, connect. Green sprouts rise up. Praise the risen God. Holy breath. Beautiful. And as the motion happens, I can just feel the energy and the extension. It feels like hands of blessing raised towards me and towards you. Empty tomb, community, love to all, resurrection power. Keep focused on Christ. Patience. Yes, patience. Spirit and power. Be delighted. Empty tomb. God loves you. Thank you so much, my friends. Many blessings. I'm in prayer for you. Be well. And here's my new sign up for this season. Stay heartful and hopeful. Bye-bye.